I want to thank you for looking at the Rock Hard 4x4 Sports Cage. What we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to install that. Now, for the purpose, we went ahead and removed the top on this Jeep. It had a soft top. Our cages work with the soft top and the hard tops. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and move the doors off the vehicle or just fold them forward. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the padding. The reason we're going to remove the padding is so that we can show you where everything mounts up. All the bars will work with the padding. We're going to show you later on the video of how to trim the padding. Your 97 through 02 have a sound bar that goes all the way across. 03 to 06 has individual sound pods. Now, if you're installing the rear section, you'll have angle bars. We use the straight across angle bars for the one that has the sound bar that goes all the way across, and we'll have the individual sound pods. You're going to use the angle bars that have the kick in them. Now, we reuse the sound bar. We will trim it, and we'll show you how to do that. First of all, we're going to remove it so that it'll be out of our way for this install. We're going to remove it using a Torx 30, and you're going to pull this back and go ahead and remove the bolts off where it bolts into the roll bar. Now that we've removed the bolts, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the electrical and remove the sound bar. First step when installing your front cage is go ahead and remove the 2 screws and remove the speaker covers on each side. We'll use a Torx T30 and remove these bolts on each side, driver and passenger. Now we're going to go ahead and use a Phillips screwdriver and remove the 4 mounting screws that hold the speaker in on each side. Now that you've removed the mounting screws and removed the speaker, go ahead and unclip it from the wiring harness. Repeat this process on the passenger side. Now that we've removed the speaker screws, we're going to go ahead and unclip the wirings on the passenger side and remove the speaker. Now, some are going to wonder why we're removing the speakers. With our cage kit, we have these long nuts, and these long nuts are going to go on the back side to help spread the load out. Now, if you're installing our floor mounts, you won't be using these, but if you are just installing the front cage, these are going to be used. Now we're going to go ahead and pull the dash back a little bit. We're going to remove the clips that the factory screws went into. Now these clips just clip on to this metal here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a screwdriver or mallet and just pop these clips off. Go ahead and remove the clips on the passenger side as well. We're going to go ahead and trim this cloth covering here to give room for the collar up here in the front. All cages come bare steel. This one here, we've went ahead and powder coated it for the install. We've went ahead and tapped out these holes, and you can see how the threads are really clean and this one's not. You want to make sure that you run a tap through all holes before you install it. It's also good to put a little oil on each bolt. Each cage kit has a tap included in the hardware. Now go ahead and locate one of the 1 3/4 caps. This is going to go up on the top here. Okay? You're going to go ahead and bring the passenger side upright in place. And go ahead and start a bolt from the top. We want to leave this loose at this time. We just want to go ahead and start the bolts and leave them loose. We're using a 1/4 inch Allen to go ahead and start this bolt. These are the 5/16 24 fine threaded bolts that are included in your hardware. This particular Jeep has the 97 through 2002 side moldings. 2003 through 2006 has a plastic trim that's a little bit larger. That trim will require trimming it for this area here and up above, and we'll show you with that in a separate photo. Now we're going to go ahead and install the nut plates on the back side, and we're going to install the button head Allens using a 7/32 Allen wrench. Now if you're installing your floor mounts, you will go ahead and put those in now instead of using the plates. Now that we've went ahead and installed the right hand side upright, we're going to go ahead and take the dash bar and lay it in place. This has the smaller collar of the bars that you may have, and it has a taper down, and it's going to go in so that it's closer to the windshield when you install it. Now you want to do this before you install the left hand side. The reason is it can't be installed afterwards without pulling one side off. Now with the dash bar in place, go ahead and install the driver's side upright, just like we did on the passenger side. Next, we're going to go ahead and remove the trim going down the side of the windshield on each side. This will allow us to get better access to the front of the clamp. To remove this, you're just going to use a Phillips headed screwdriver. Now we're going to go ahead and install the cap. What I've done is I've put the bolts in there already because it's kind of hard to fish them in there afterwards. Go ahead and put this in place. You'll raise the dash bar up a little bit. We're going to use a 1/4 inch ball-headed Allen. This will allow us access to the front screws. Make sure that when you install this bar, or any of the bars, that you've cleaned the threads with a tap. That tap is included with the hardware kit. And I always use the center 2 bolts, and that'll help keep the cap going on straight and starting straight until you start the others. Now we're going to go ahead and install the cap on the passenger side. Once again, I'm using the center bolts to start, and we have already cleaned the threads out. What we're doing is we're only bringing the bar snug. We're not tightening it down until everything is finished on our install. Now, some customers have asked about height of the dash bar. Dash bar height does vary, and what we've done is we've put a little bit of an angle on these sidebars. So, the narrower your Jeep, or if you bring the dash bar down, it'll bring the sidebars in. If you bring it up, it's as if you have a wider Jeep, and it'll widen them out. What you want to do is you want to bring the dash bar so that the inside of the clamp is right up against the bar on each side. Then you're going to install the caps. And as I just showed you, you're going to use a ball-headed Allen wrench for the for the front. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and start the center 2 bolts, and then I want you to bring the front as tight as you can with the ball-headed Allen wrench, and then bring this together on the back. This will allow you to pull that shell tight, even if you didn't get a really, really good torque on the front ones. Without pulling the windshield can be done. This is our T-section that we're going to go ahead and install in this TJ. This T-section is made out of 1 3/4 tubing, 120 wall. It has a nice plate on here for mounting accessories like a dome light or a CB or any other type of electronics or whatever you may want to mount there. A couple of questions we do get once in a while from customers is it is 6 inches between the 2 bars. This plate is 24 inches long. Now, something to keep in mind is this plate is available on the top or without. Now that we've set the T-section in place, what we're going to do is we're going to mark the padding where the center is on each side. Okay, and I'm doing this with a magic marker and just a Sharpie. And what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and pull the T-section forward. We're going to make a 1.5 inch X on this right in the center. This will allow us to thread the collar through so that we'll be able to reinstall it with our factory padding. If you're going to be running our angle bars, now's a good time to go ahead and mark and cut this, as your angle bars are going to be the caps to the front T-section. But if you're only running our front cage kit, the cap will go on the back side here also. In the front cage kit, you'll have 2 caps for the larger ones. They are the 2 1/4 caps. All the others are 1 3/4 in the front cage kit. Now, if you are installing angle bars, these caps now go on the outside as the angle bars become the caps for the front cage kit. Now that we've installed the T-section, or started to install the T-section, we've went ahead and started one of the caps on this side here. We started with the center bolts. We did retap the threads just to make sure there was no powder coat and paint in them. We'll do this other side, and then we'll start with the front. What we want to do is we want to pull this back here before we tighten the front. Take a tape measure and square it from side to side so that you make sure your T-section is straight in the Jeep.